But we have a very special guest joining us right now. It's the four-time World Series champion and guitar legend, Bernie Williams. Bernie is teaming up with Priceless New York City, reserved by MasterCard, providing rich experiences such as sporting events, tickets to see the Yankees and Jets, entertainment like Soundstage at Lincoln Center, and other experiences such as celebrity chef demos, VIP dining, and popular local offers. And with that, we welcome in the man, the legend, Bernie Williams. Bernie, how are you this morning?
I am doing great. I like about that. I don't know. I'm not sure about that legendary guitar player, but I'm doing great.
Well, hey, people know you for your guitar work too. I mean, hey, when are we getting a song from you and Guitar Hero?
Oh man, that will be certainly a great treat. But I don't think I'm in that level yet. I'm still working on you know, trying to get myself, in the door. But I've actually been playing a lot. The last 2 years. Have a lot of time to practice and get my skill level to the point that I can actually play on stage and have a lot of fun with it. So it's been great.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot of fun. I know you've been doing it a long time. Bernie joining us here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Bernie, how much do you know about fantasy sports? I'm sure during your career, people came up to you all the time and said, "Hey, I got you on my fantasy baseball team." And every clubhouse league, every clubhouse, even the Yankees clubhouse, which I've been in, seems to have a fantasy football league. Major league players always seem to participate in it now. What do you know about fantasy sports, and what's your opinion of it?
Well, I didn't know too much when I was playing, although, I always would hear people, going out and maybe just grabbing a bite to eat or going somewhere saying, I'm a so and so's fan, but I got you on my fantasy team, so you better start hitting the ball or something like that, or start stealing some bases or something. Uh, but so, yeah, I was aware of the fact that there was this, great, form of entertainment called fantasy baseball or fantasy sports, in which I guess the fans have an opportunity to be general managers and have a lot of decisions on their teams, and you know it's great entertainment. But it was kind of like starting when I was kind of like finishing playing.
Robinson Cano has put himself into the AL MVP talk with a great year. Did you think he was going to be this good? Did you see this coming?
Yeah, absolutely. He's been a very consistent. We knew that he could hit, and had a great hands, as a second baseman, as for a person of his size, and you know, it's he just plays like he's a little guy, and he's probably as tall as I am, and probably weighs, I don't know, 215, 230, something like that, and he just moves in second base like he's a little guy there playing, and very swift and great arm angles. He can throw the ball to first base, from any kind of different positions, and his hitting, because of he's a big guy for a second baseman. He's got a great swing going, and I knew that he had a great idea of the strike zone and how to be a good hitter. So it was just a matter of time, and apparently this year he has put it all together.
Talking to Bernie Williams here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with the Roto Experts in the morning. Bernie, a lot of people play in fantasy baseball playoff style leagues where they draft players based on the playoffs, and some of those people are a little concerned about the Yankees rotation outside of CC Sabathia. What's your scouting report on the staff outside of CC?
Uh, well, the one thing that I have to say is that these people are bona fide big leaguers, and the one thing is that everything starts on zero on the playoffs. If they are frustrated because sometimes their season hasn't gone to the way they want it to, I think they'll be extra motivated to go out in the postseason and sort of redeem themselves, as part of the season, and not especially here in New York, nobody really gives takes a lot of attention to what you do during the season, but the postseason is when it really counts, and you got have guys that have done that and been there before, like Andy Pettit, And obviously, Mariano probably arguably one of the best closers in the game in the history of the game. So, I wouldn't bet against him. I mean, CC has gotten a great year, but these guys, can very well aware of the situation, and I think there will be coming up to the big challenge, and they'll be coming through.
What do you think Joe Torre does here in the future? Do you think he manages again?
Well, I think they're going to have to make him an offer that he can't refuse, for him to, go back. I think, having the success that he had in New York and, some of the success that he has had in L.A., I think that was probably one of the things that he was lacking, from his baseball career. And I think, he's, doesn't really have anything else to prove. Maybe he has something else that he wants to do, in his life, other than baseball. But I think he still can offer a lot to a team. I think, his personality and his demeanor, the way that he handles the players, it's definitely a great asset for any team, and they'll be lucky to have him. They can make him an offer that he can certainly accept.
Looking at the other side of town, Carlos Beltran, your former countryman, your fellow countryman, has had a rough season and has battled knee problems, and his status is cloudy going into next season. Do you expect Carlos to rebound, and to what degree?
No, I certainly, hope that he does. Obviously, there's no telling, but one thing I know about Carlos is that he's a hard worker, and he has proven, throughout his career that he can play this game, and he can be one of the best players in the league. Uh, Injuries are always hard, to deal with, and bouncing back, is always a lot of skepticism, with fans. But as a player, you kind of like take that and you say, well, this is my motivation, if I don't do it for me, I just got to prove people wrong. And I think I think he's in a great situation right now because he's probably just going back, trying to revisit, the things that really made him the player that he has been, over the past, before he got hurt and before he started getting all these injury problems. And he'll definitely be, coming back with a vengeance. Trying to, coming down, swinging hard and playing really hard baseball. So I wouldn't bet against him.
What is one of your best memories of George Steinbrenner?
Well, I have a few. There's one actually probably back to maybe 1989. We were playing the Mets in this what they call the Subway Series. Right before right before the season started. We played 2 games here at Chase Stadium at Yankee Stadium, and I had an opportunity to make the team out of spring training. I don't know, probably at around 21, 20 years old, and I got called down. Dallas Green was the manager, and he called me down and said, "Kid, you don't need to be here now. We need to go down and start playing and get some at bats." And I was feeling very frustrated, and I remember George coming down into the clubhouse and saying to me, "Kid, you're gonna do good. Just go down there and do your work." And get some swings down, and you'll be here back in no time, And is that clear? I said, yes, sir. I go down there and I do my best, and I'll see you back later. And it's he was just like that. He had this reputation to be very hardcore and very strict person, obviously, but definitely had a soft side to him, and certainly appreciate the opportunity that he gave me to play with the Yankees.
Bernie Williams has joined us here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Bernie, we broadcast live every day from Jazz and Lincoln Center. We got a very nice stage for you over here if you ever want to put on a show. And my wife and her family are huge fans of yours, as is our CEO at Roto Experts, Louis Mayone. So you'll have a good crowd on hand if you ever want to join us over here.
Oh, man, I was definitely looking forward to the opportunity to do that. And, obviously great fan of Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center, and, it'll be a great treat if I have the opportunity to do that.
Bernie Williams, thanks a lot for joining us every day, 12:30 Eastern. A New York specific overwhelming offer will be made to MasterCard cardholders via MasterCard Marketplace. These overwhelming offers will be limited in quantity and available to MasterCard cardholders on a first-come, first-served basis, so fast reservations are essential. That is the priceless New York City Reserved by MasterCard program. Bernie, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, Bernie Williams, the four-time champ. Mike DeMurgis had a smile on his face.
Yes, I did.
The whole time we did that.
Of course.
Yes, I did. Why not?
Memories.
Bernie's a great guy and an integral part of those world championships, and he was the quiet one with all the other noise going around. Bernie was quiet, went around his business, and a great postseason player as well.
And, you know, it was almost emotional for me, Mike, because my brother-in-law, who passed away 2 years ago, who was basically my wife's best friend growing up, my brother-in-law was a huge baseball fan, and he loved Dave Winfield growing up.
Right.
And Winfield was first his favorite player when we had Dave on. I was telling you that, but Bernie Williams was his all-time favorite player. And, you know, hopefully my brother-in-law, Walter Brown, as Arnold, he was known in the family, hopefully he was watching down, you know, hearing this interview, you know, because I thought of him throughout the whole thing.
Well, it's, you know, if you're going to pick a role model, Bernie Williams certainly would be that. And, you know, here's a guy that won 4 world championships in New York City. Could have ran wild, could have gotten in trouble, as we make fun of, you know, we kind of look at the Jets a lot and, you know, poke fun of it. And here's a guy who spent his spare time learning music and being a guitarist. You talk about role models. I don't think you get much better than Bernie Williams. Really
No, you
is.
don't. I mean, you know, growing up, I loved Ace Frehley, but he was a mess.
Well, you wouldn't exactly. I mean, you have a young son, 16 years old. You know,
Here's the thing. You know, not to interrupt you, but my other brother-in-law, Chris Brown, who lives up in Troy, New York, huge Yankee fan, huge, and coaches Little League, and his son Joseph is a pitcher. They're very, very intense, very focused, and my other brother-in-law, Chris, worships Bernie Williams. My wife's family worshipped Bernie Williams. They just loved him because he was that quiet type of guy. And even as a Met fan, you know, I had respect for him. I mean,
how could you not?
How could you not? There were certain players I always had respect for.
You know, absolutely. And, you know, they talk about Posada, Jeter, Rivera, and who am I missing here? Posada, Jeter, Rivera, and Pettit as being the 4. Well, Bernie is really the 5th guy in that thing, because they talk about, you know, those 4 being the Yankee mainstays. But, you know, even though Bernie retired a few years ago, let's not forget about Bernie so fast. The Yankees went through a lot of center fielders before they had Bernie. And
Fantasy-wise, here's why I remember Bernie the most. Because everybody plays rotisserie baseball. But when you play head-to-head baseball, especially the old-style head-to-head baseball leagues that I played, you had maybe 2 games on a Tuesday and Wednesday and individual games on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It became very unpredictable and very hard to get somebody who was consistent on a day-to-day basis. Bernie Williams in head-to-head baseball, in fantasy baseball in the 1990s, there was not a more consistent guy than him.
No, without question. And, you know, I love the fact that he was just a quiet guy that went about his business, and you didn't hear about any peripheral BS that went on with the guy. And like you said, consistently, year after year, you know, you're going to get 300 to 320, get hit 20, 25 home runs, and have, you know, 90 to 100 RBIs.
Yeah, and he was always, a lot of Yankee fans always hold him as one of their favorite. I've met so many Yankee fans who always say Bernie Williams was their favorite player.
He's the best center fielder of my generation, and of course I would go through Mickey Rivers, Ken Griffey Jr., and a couple other guys, and throw a couple other guys in there. But Bernie Williams by far was the best center fielder of my generation.
Probably for all around hitting and fielding and intangibles. You know, it didn't get any better. And he plays a heck of a guitar.
That's the